On the authorization of the use of military force, I know from the very start the White House's position is we would like to have this, you sent up your draft, but you don't need it.
As a legal matter, that is just a fact.
So will you consider it a setback? I mean, it certainly appears to be going nowhere, and not just because of the latest developments with Speaker Boehner, but I can't really find any Democrats up on Capitol Hill that have gotten behind what the White House sent up. Have you is it going to be a major setback if you don't get this as it looks?
As I told Justin, I think it would be a significant disappointment if Congress continues to be AWOL when it comes to the AUMF. That for members of Congress to stand up as often as they have and insist that the president respect the role that they have to play when it comes to national security, and for them to demand meetings with the administration that were organized by the administration, to demand language from the administration that the president sent up, to demand that administration officials participate in congressional hearings on this matter, and we sent up the Secretary of Defense and the Secretary of State to testify on it. I mean, at some point, somebody in Congress needs to assume responsibility for this and not just complain about it the whole time.
But when you look at all that's happened since the White House sent up the draft of the authorizing the use of military force, you've seen setback after setback. You've seen some successes, but you've seen huge setbacks like we've seen in Ramadi, the most significant. You've seen the reports that ISIL is not only operating in Syria and Iraq, but they are exporting operations to Libya. Doesn't it make sense to say maybe the strategy needs to be overhauled? I mean, since you sent that document up to Capitol Hill, the situation in a whole variety of ways has gotten much worse. Maybe it's time for a different strategy.
Well,
that's not unreasonable, is it?
I think it's a different question. The fact is, and I think I tried to acknowledge this to Jim, is that the president and his team are constantly testing the strategy and evaluating what elements of the strategy are working well and where can those lessons be applied in other areas, and what elements of the strategy aren't having the intended effect and need to be reformed or changed. This is something that the president and his national security team are always focused on, and there are a number of discussions that we've had with members of Congress about this issue. The fact is that it's the responsibility of Congress to send a clear signal to the world, to our enemies, and to our men and women in uniform that the United States Congress is committed to the effort to degrade and ultimately destroy ISIL. And again, when it comes to making their voice heard and fulfilling their constitutional responsibility to do that, Congress and their leadership in both parties has been AWOL.
Now, on the overall track record of military operations, of the president's strategy on this, you said we've seen periods of progress and success. Would you say that overall this strategy has been a success?
Well, John, yeah. I mean, yes. Overall, yes. That doesn't mean that there haven't been areas of setback, as we saw in Ramadi.
I mean, is it exporting terror to Libya, taking over the capital of Iraq's largest province? This is overall a success?
Well, what we've also seen is a coalition of 60 nations, both in the region and around the world, join the United States in this fight. We've seen a new prime minister take office in Iraq and unite that country and deploy a multi-sectarian security force against ISIL that has succeeded in liberating important areas of Diyala and Babel and Nineveh and the Kirkuk provinces. We've seen important Iraqi security force gains in Tikrit and Ramadi. We've also seen strategic areas like Sinjar Mountain and Mosul Dam, where Iraqi security forces have emerged victorious. So we have seen a lot of success, but we've also seen significant periods of setback, and that's part of what a military conflict is going to be, particularly one that's going to be a long-term proposition like this one.